Hello today, my dear viewer. I'm Argo Spiral, and I like trains. For the uninitiated, after the untimely announced cancellation of Bear Asterisk, the at the time most worked on game by the group of the same name, Skengines, a Mario Kart inspired racing game, was to take its place in a sense, as the team was/is trying to move on to more unique projects. Its player count was thrown off the edge almost immediately after release, probably because the gameplay was nothing like the ones that preceded it. But I developed a bit of a habit for this game, so I've decided, hey, since no one else is going to give it a fair shot in video form, I might as well. So here goes. First, I should talk about this game's aesthetic, as the Bear Asterisk team has always had a knack for aesthetic and visual design. Obviously, this game takes a lot after low poly games like Roblox 64, just being weird and quirky while also being pleasing to the eye. The maps look like they were made by a child using sets of toys to bring to life a custom track to race, well, toy trains. In maps like On-Road Stadium and Moonstroll, they have duller colors for the track and props, and a lot more layout of bounds and landmark locations. They have a lot more spectacle to them than the other maps that have a degree of childlike wonder to them. On the other hand, Ozymandias Ruins and Forge's Valley use monochromatic color schemes that feel a lot more action-packed and intense, which makes sense given the map design, but we'll get to that later. Then there's A-Cubed, which is very surreal, trippy, and wacky, which is kind of Bear Asterisk's whole deal, so it doesn't feel out of place here. The battle maps, home of the Skeng and Cosmic Rolling, feel lived in and populated, suited with tons of audience members and other Skengs. By the looks of things, I like to imagine the Skengines just broke into here and called the place their own, and everyone was too scared to object. The aesthetic is furthered by the lighting, which is very colorful and gives every map its own distinct vibe, making them very memorable. The most noticeable ones being Moonstroll and A-Cubed. The former serves as this game's Rainbow Road, so in order to differentiate itself, it really owns the outer space look and feels like an actual crash course through a solar system. The cooler colors setting it apart, to where at first glance it looks like a knockoff Rainbow Road. But as you go through it, you'll see how it has an identity of its own. Then A-Cubed decides to, I wanna say chug acid, but seeing games that are actual acid trips, I think a better term would be rubbing your eyes for too long until you start seeing plasma. Point is, there's neon everywhere, and by God, I can't look away from it. Good work. Overall, the lighting plays a major part in this whole concoction, and it really does a good job of making the game look pretty. Given that this is what you're going to be using for the whole game, you're going to want to give it a makeover. And the cosmetics you can equip both look nice and fit the aesthetic as well. A lot of the stickers look more like spray paints than anything, with lots of callbacks to both Bear games and items from Skengines itself. Most art cosmetics, aside from hats, were made for the game itself, which I really feel nails down the low poly game from the 2000s aesthetic it seems to be going for. Lastly, there's a UI and effects, which match the game's art direction and feel in line with how the game looks. I really like these explosion effects, really conveying the explosive destruction of certain items. And the other UI and effects are fitting as well. Overall, Skengines knows exactly what it wants to look like and how to make it work, with lots of popping colors and great palettes. And while I intended to touch on most of the visual aspects, the sound side and music are great as well. The music produced by Cheetah Man is on his channel if you want to give it a listen. Overall, good shit. But that's only the half of it. We need good gameplay too. For now, I want to hold back on talking about items and mechanics like drifting or the physics to shine light on the map design. And what better way to do that than by ranking all of them? I'm only going to be talking about racing maps though, since I don't really give a shit about battle mode and neither do the players. So let's get on with it. Coming in dead last is Forge's Valley. Out of the 5 maps currently in the game, this one takes the cake as the most cramped and linear out of all of them. There is not a single branching path or meaningful skip you can take in the whole thing, meaning your entire journey through the valley will consist of taking the shortest turns and going through long stretches of just nothing. What this means is that you're most likely going to be rubber banding with one or more players throughout the entire thing, with no way to separate yourself from them without shedding blood. And because the path is as thin as the waist of a cartoon mother, you can imagine you're going to be shot. A lot. This makes the importance of, actually being a good driver drop heavily, in favor of playing who gets the triple rockets, doubled by the fact there's only 2 boost pads. And if you want to use the mushroom equivalent here, the only place you can use it without crashing into a wall is the massive stretch of nothing but a straight line at the goalpost. This part can absolutely make or break your final placement, since the others will catch up with you, and there will be someone with a rocket or bomb that's gonna decimate you with ease, and there's literally nowhere else to go. Overall, this map feels so much slower than all the rest, since you're forced into a situation where you have to go exactly where the game tells you to, and constantly butt heads with other players because of how easy it is to get hit in this map. It has none of the high speed action I'm looking for. Now in 4th place is the exact opposite. 8 cubed is a massive loop. The speed things along are boost pads everywhere, and being a loop, it allows for a lot of drifting. The only caveat is that if you get hit, prepare to lose a ton of leverage. At least that's how it seems, because of the aforementioned boost pad propelling everyone forward. And saying ducks are always a target, so if you're in a group, there's never just one rocket hurling towards the unlucky schmuck. Also, if you plan on throwing a bomb or trip mine, there's a good chance it'll just fly off the rails and be rendered useless. Like the previous map, there's no verticality aside from one ramp, and the sharp turns plus guardrails mean you're not hitting anyone after a certain distance. This means that, at first, you're basically unstoppable if you can get far enough ahead in time. Bar for the satellite item. Hell, sometimes not even that's enough. This lets me feeling powerless a lot of the time, as there's that one bugger that I can never catch up to due to how sharp this map is. When you're actually going fast, it can feel quite fun to hit all the boost pads and dodge a flood of oil. However, once again, it can feel like an absolute slog, though certainly less than Forager's Valley. In 3rd place, we got Undeveloped Stadium, and this is where things get more positive. While once again having a lot of twists, turns, and boost pads, there are 3 key factors to making this and the next few maps actually work. 1. The twists are much longer and give you a lot more time before the other Skengines aim and fire or dash past you. There's 2 specific turns at the end of the lap. One that allows you to not only get a boost, but it's one of the easiest double drifts to work out, meaning you can get a double boost and an item very quickly. The second at the very end is extremely sharp, meaning that people won't be able to see or hit what's on the other side in time. And if you drop oil there, it's an easy trap to leave others in the dust. The turns are opportunities rather than just there to make the map loop. 2. While there are quite a lot of boost pads, the map is a lot longer to compensate, so you're not just accelerating constantly like in 8 cubes. This map also has a feature of double boost pads. There's 2 at the start, which allow you to either sacrifice items for speed, or speed and potentially your replacement for an item. Some simple risk and reward. There's also this third one at one of the turns is just there for some reason, not really serving a purpose besides maybe giving some free air time to not get hit. And 3. There's some actual verticality in this one. Like, you actually go up and down, and there's items and boosts, and you actually get some free save time away from the crowd for a second, and you can actually progress in a meaningful way, and it's actually fun. The map is also way wider, so you don't have to worry about 18 sharp-ass turns or being constantly choked to death by the map design. You can actually move and drive. Once again, it's just good, I'd say. It's nothing amazing, but I think it's leagues above the other 2. In 2nd place, we're finally at the great maps with Moonstroll. Well, that's some of the elements from Undeveloped Stadium previously discussed. Where it succeeds the most, I feel, is with verticality and branching paths. Starting with the latter, at the very start there's 2 paths. You can either go down the faster yellow path with lots of items and some rocks to absorb hits, at the cost of being one hit away from completely falling off the edge because of its thinness and just getting hit in general. Or, you can go down the slower routes with these ramps with verticality which are harder to get hit in, sacrificing speed for safety. There's quite a few of these here. 3 thin paths with item boxes, this ring shape with 2 paths, and lastly at the end there's these 2 upper and lower paths. You got 3 options for this one. Specifically, you could stick to the bottom and go much faster at the consequence of being a sitting duck for rockets. Stick to the top all the way through at the cost of being slower and potentially getting hit by asteroids, or go to the top and drop down for a bit of both. There's a lot more choice here, and being out in the open allows you to do some pretty sick skips. The former, verticality, is present in basically the entire map, once again allowing you to do skips and get away from the craziness of down below. Moonstroll in general provides a lot of choice for the player, which means that you can actually get farther ahead if you're a good driver, not just because of what item you got. Overall, an actually fun map. I can see why it's so popular aside from just the aesthetic. And lastly, in 1st place is Ozymandias Ruins. This one doesn't have any massive skips or branching paths, but it does have a lot of turns and well-placed boost pads, and it creates a lot of action and chaos. You have this narrow turn with 2 item boxes, followed by another set of item boxes in a longer stretch so you can actually use them, meaning this part is one of the most chaotic. Then there's a grace period of sorts with these pits and bigger boost pads, which can be harder to hit people in, but it's still possible to really screw someone up. After some relatively smooth sailing, Last stretch is a bunch of boost pads and items followed by one last stretch for that very last hit that could decide it all. This is the most chaotic part. You can either go screw it and get all the boosts, try to screw someone over at the last second with an item box, or try to do both and probably fail miserably. This last stretch in particular is very exciting, as is the whole map, and it just feels like something is always happening. There's always one segment that can be strategized and used to get ahead. The whole map has the potential to be exploited and boosted through. For example, you could use free hot sauces to achieve flight, or lay down oil, or god forbid a trip mine in the narrow turn. It's chaotic, but it has some smoother parts as well, making it feel balanced, like there's always a new opportunity for you to get ahead. This is why it's my personal favorite map. With that out of the way, now it's time for me to try and make sense of all this madness. Now I won't get back to the map design just yet, as I want to jot everything down I like and think it'd be improved. Firstly, I'm not very interested in battle mode. I feel like it might just be missing something that makes it tick. Like, there's only so much you can do with the items you're given, and a lot of the time, especially in Cosmic Roland, there's a lot of turning around looking for people to hit. I honestly don't know what they could do though. I guess just look at the game's main inspiration and see if there's something you could do with or add a spin on it. Although they could remove the brownie item from battle mode, or at least give it some real purpose. Because I don't think I'm looking for more money in a game mode where I have to hit everyone I can. It just feels useless as an item there. Speaking of items, I love the way they chose to change the items in small but awesome ways. Whoever decided it was a good idea to make the red and green shells high-power explosives deserves a raise. And to whoever said, instead of making it homing on people, let's just make the players aim the rock with their mouse. Just know, you are a genius. Because as much as it may look like I don't enjoy the rockets, I do. A lot. You can be an absolute menace to society if you want with this. And if you have cyber sniper augmentations like I do, you can just snipe people with these, especially when it comes to boost pads, which are like a bright light to a group of moths. So you best think twice if you're rubber banding people and you see one. The oil and trip mines are also very fun to use. Though one is just a banana peel and the other you have to be very careful with, if you put these in the right spot, like I mentioned before, the last turn of On-Road Stadium or the tight stretch of Ozymandias ruins where they won't see it coming, you can absolutely mess up someone else's or even your own day. The items are very fun to use, even when we still only have a few of them, but the changes made making them a lot more hectic and fun. Heck, they even let you boost out the blue shell equivalent explosion if you time it right, like in the actual Mario Kart games. I'm intrigued to see where they go with this and if they plan on adding more items with their own twists. Back to the map design, I think the best racing maps are the ones that have space to breathe in verticality, since it allows you to break the map or get some time to not get pummeled with whatever the other Skengines get. The ones with sharp turns and a single set of boost pads to create natural tension are some of my favorites. However, I think there could also be more room for branching paths, especially for the more linear maps. For example, what if in Forager's Valley you had to go down the cave normally, but if you have a hot sauce, you could skip the whole crane in the tunnel and go for a shorter route. Or how about an on-road stadium, instead of just having that first double boost pad be there for a little reason, it could be seated farther away from the end, allowing you to reach a much higher platform, maybe on some blimps, that's thin and has holes in it, but can bring you to the end right before those two sets of item boxes. And hey, even if I don't like some of these maps, they don't negate the enjoyment that comes with the fast-paced game of rockets and boosts that is Skengines. I just think that going forward for maps, we could have a lot more choice in open areas. Overall, Skengines is a very fun game that I am personally finding myself getting addicted to. While the maps could be a lot better, the other changes in features and items and the wacky physics makes this one hectic game that sadly is not getting near as many players as it deserves. Though I can't say I'm surprised, because when you spend the first good 5 years of your studio on one gameplay style, then move to a completely different one, both diehard and casual fans alike aren't going to want to ditch a game they spent so much time on for a complete fresh start. So if there's anything I can leave you with, it's that you should give Skengines a shot, as I personally believe it to be a lot better than the player count is giving it credit for. Here's hoping the Bear Astros team manages to refine and perfect this style until we get something truly front page material. I'm Argo Spiral, and man, I like trains!